June 18, 1815, a day that changed the course of European history. The Battle of Waterloo, the final showdown between Napoleon Bonaparte and the coalition of European powers that sought to end his reign once and for all. But what if it didn't end as we know it? What if Napoleon triumphed over his enemies and claimed victory at Waterloo? How would history have changed if one of the greatest military strategists in history had one more chance to reshape the world? Welcome back to TimeShift, where we dive deep into the what-ifs of history, exploring the turning points that could have altered our present reality. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell. From the Civil War to Pearl Harbor, we've covered some of the biggest what-if scenarios that make you question everything you know about history. But today, we delve into the mind of a man who came so close to conquering all of Europe, the emperor himself, Napoleon Bonaparte. Our story begins on the fields of Waterloo, in what would become one of history's most iconic battles. In our timeline, Napoleon was ultimately defeated by the combined forces of the British and Prussians under the command of Duke of Wellington and General Blücher. But in this alternate reality, one critical decision changes everything. Napoleon, known for his tactical genius, outmaneuvers his enemies, splitting their armies and delivering a crushing blow to the coalition forces. The British and Prussian armies, taken by surprise, crumble under the relentless attack of the French Imperial Guard. But what does Napoleon's victory mean for Europe? With the coalition forces shattered, the once mighty European powers are forced to negotiate terms with the emperor. France, once on the brink of collapse, becomes the dominant power in Europe, with Napoleon consolidating his control over a vast empire that stretches from Spain to Russia. Countries that once opposed him are now compelled to bend the knee or face the wrath of the French military machine. The balance of power shifts dramatically. The Congress of Vienna, which sought to restore stability and redraw the map of Europe, never comes to pass. Instead, Napoleon establishes a new order, a Pax Napoleonica, where France is the central force, and the rest of Europe must follow the emperor's lead. Imagine a world where the ideals of the French Revolution, liberty, equality, fraternity, are enforced across the continent, but with a twist, under the iron rule of an ambitious emperor. Now, let's delve into the mind of Napoleon. Many historians have speculated about the emperor's true ambitions. Some say he sought to create a unified Europe under French leadership, a single vast empire that would rival the power of Rome. Others argue that Napoleon's endgame was far more sinister, a global domination scheme that would extend beyond Europe's borders. But what if there were secret forces at play? Conspiracy theorists argue that Napoleon was part of a larger, hidden agenda, one tied to secret societies and shadowy organizations that sought to reshape the world in their image. The Freemasons, the Illuminati, or perhaps even more mysterious groups. Were they supporting Napoleon from behind the scenes, pulling the strings of power to ensure his victory and establish a new world order? Imagine this. A victorious Napoleon, backed by powerful unseen forces, begins a new campaign, not just to conquer Europe, but to spread his influence worldwide. Egypt, India, the Americas, no corner of the globe is safe from the ambition of the emperor. And under the guise of spreading Enlightenment ideals, Napoleon and his secret allies lay the groundwork for a global empire that will last 1,000 years. But what about the United States? In our timeline, America watched from afar as Europe tore itself apart in the Napoleonic Wars, eventually stepping in to assert its own power. But in this alternate reality, a victorious Napoleon casts his gaze across the Atlantic. With Europe firmly under his control, the emperor sees the New World as the next frontier, and the young United States, still finding its feet as a nation, finds itself facing an unprecedented threat, the possibility of French intervention. In this world, the Monroe Doctrine, the policy that sought to keep European powers out of the Americas, is put to the test. Napoleon's fleet, the Grande Armée de Mer, sails across the Atlantic, threatening to expand French influence into the Caribbean, Mexico, and even North America. Tensions between the United States and the French Empire reach a boiling point. Would America stand its ground against the greatest military power of the age, or would Napoleon extend his reign to the New World as well? But let's not forget one of Napoleon's greatest rivals, Russia. In our timeline, the disastrous Russian campaign of 1812 marked the beginning of the end for Napoleon. But in this alternate reality, with his victory at Waterloo, Napoleon is given a second chance to confront the Tsar. A clash between two titans, Napoleon Bonaparte and Alexander I, threatens to reshape not only Europe, but the entire world. Napoleon, ever the strategist, learns from his past mistakes. Instead of a full-scale invasion, he opts for a different approach: diplomatic subversion, economic pressure, and targeted military strikes to weaken the Tsar's power. The result? A protracted Cold War-style conflict between the French Empire and the Russian Empire that spans decades, creating a tense standoff that threatens to engulf the entire world in conflict. But what about the cultural and social impact of Napoleon's victory? With France at the heart of a new world order, French culture, language, and ideas spread like wildfire across Europe and beyond. The French Enlightenment ideals, reason, secularism, and revolution, become the foundation of this new society. Cities like Paris, Berlin, Madrid, and Rome are all transformed under Napoleon's vision of a modern empire. Imagine a world where French is the dominant language of diplomacy, culture, and commerce. The arts flourish under Napoleon's patronage, as painters, writers, and thinkers from across Europe are drawn to his court. But not all are happy with this forced Frenchification. Secret resistance groups spring up across the continent, opposing the cultural domination of the emperor. Nationalists in Germany, Spain, Italy, and even France itself plot in the shadows, determined to restore their own identities and freedoms. In our timeline, the 19th century saw the Industrial Revolution transform economies and societies around the world. But how would this have played out under Napoleon's rule? With France at the center of this new order, technological and industrial development takes on a distinctly French character. The emperor, always eager to modernize his empire, invests heavily in infrastructure, transportation, and industry. The result? A rapid industrialization of Europe, but one controlled by the central power of the emperor. Factories, railroads, and canals crisscross the continent, connecting cities and boosting trade. But this comes at a cost. The freedom of innovation is stifled, as all progress must align with the emperor's grand vision. The Industrial Revolution becomes a tool of control, shaping the future of Europe in ways that serve Napoleon's goals. But every empire, no matter how powerful, must eventually face its end. What happens when Napoleon is no longer in power? Does his empire survive, or does it crumble like so many before it? In this alternate timeline, the answer is far from clear. Napoleon, ever the brilliant strategist, lays the groundwork for a dynasty, establishing a line of succession that will keep the Bonaparte name in power for generations. But without the genius of Napoleon himself, the cracks in the empire begin to show. Rival factions within the French government, resistance movements across Europe, and a changing world all threaten the stability of the empire. Could Napoleon's heirs hold on to power, or would a new wave of revolutions sweep across the continent, bringing down the House of Bonaparte once and for all? And what would the world look like after the fall of a Napoleonic empire, an age of freedom, or yet another era of chaos and war? Imagine the legacy of a victorious Napoleon, a world where the French Empire stretched across continents, shaping the global order for generations to come. How would the Napoleonic Code influence the laws of the world? Would the ideals of the French Revolution, twisted through the lens of imperial rule, dominate our politics, culture, and economies? And would the very concept of democracy, born from the revolutions of the 18th century, survive under the shadow of an eternal empire? Some might argue that a world ruled by a victorious Napoleon would be one of order, unity, and progress, a single empire driving humanity forward. But others see a darker side, a world of oppression, conformity, and control, where the freedom to think, speak, and dream is dictated by an emperor's decree. The question remains, what would you prefer? A world of Napoleon's vision, or the chaotic reality we know today? So, what do you think? Could Napoleon have built an empire that lasted for generations? Or was his ambition destined to collapse under its own weight? Here at TimeShift, we explore the endless possibilities of history, peeling back the layers of time to uncover the hidden what-ifs that could have changed everything. If you enjoyed this journey through an alternate history, don't forget to like, subscribe, and let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to check out our other episodes, from the world that never saw the rise of the internet to the secrets of Pearl Harbor and beyond. Until next time, this has been TimeShift, where we explore the moments that could have reshaped our world.